Hi everybody, it's Susie. Welcome back to my craft room. I'm sorry I've kind of been missing in action for the past couple of days. I have had some extremely stressful past 2 days. And then last night I got some pretty devastating news from somebody very precious to me. But anyway, I'll share that at the end of the video because I have a very special prayer request. To ask of y'all, and I kind of want to tell you just a tiny bit, just about, the past couple of days. Anyway, I did want to show you where I was at on our journals. And so I did try to make a video 2 times yesterday, and both times it cut off without me knowing it. And, I had already done, some of the work, and I'd been through what I had already done. And so at the end, went back to review the video. One of them was 8 seconds long and the other was 5 seconds long. And I had spent, however much time going through everything. So I just wanted to show you where I was at. I have not done anything further in this journal than what I showed you the other day. However, I did pull some other fabrics out that I would love to have your opinions on. So I think I showed you, well, I know I showed you the silk fabric, or the satiny fabric with the lace over it. And I showed you another, no, that's the one I showed you. And okay, let me back up. I did not show you the satiny fabric with the lace over it. I showed you this linen type fabric that I was thinking about making pockets with on this particular page because I thought that went really pretty. And then to use this lace on top of it like that, because that tied that in as well, or maybe even something like that and kind of make a double pocket. So I really thought that is beautiful. I still think that's beautiful, and we may use that, but I want your opinions on this. Okay, then I pulled in a satiny fabric, and I put that behind me, so bear with me just a second. Oh. And this fabric is very shiny and very pretty, which I thought would be nice with the silver edges and things, and it would kind of look nice. And so I put that up against that, and I think that's nice, but I'm just not sure about it. I think it might be too shiny for this particular thing, but I want your opinion. And this fabric with, say, this lace over it, which tones that shininess down a little bit, and I like that a lot. But I'm still not positive that that's the right one. And so even if I did like a double pocket, that brings back in that real shininess of that. I could ink that up a little bit and see how that looks, because I think that just might be too bright. So give me your opinion on what you think of those two. And then I pulled in another one, and I want your opinion on this one as well. Now this is, and now this, I have not, this was a dress, and I have not taken it apart, so right now it's kind of on the thick side. But, for purposes of this, I want to show you kind of what it looks like. And I really like kind of how that fabric is with that. And let me show you the lace that I'm looking at putting over that. Maybe. And this is the lace over that one. I think that lace is really stunning with that. It seems the right amount of shininess, without being, really bold like the satin was. Then I thought, okay, what if I brought in, like in this fabric, like that, and then put this lace. And I really like that too. So I'm kind of torn about what to do. I mean, the white brings out the white in that. This brings out the grays and the silvers in this. So I like that. You know, so that's an option. And then of course the satiny fabric. Get that back in again. I only have so much workspace, right? Okay. If I can get this back over here. This fabric with this lace, which tones it down quite considerably. Ugh, I'm having a hard time, sorry y'all. And I would not want to bring that down because I think it's just the wrong color for that. But once I put that over it, I think that looks pretty awesome. So let me know which combination that y'all like the best. And what you think that I should do with this particular journal. So I really, 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 really want y'all's input. So please, please, please leave me a comment below letting me know what you think is the right combination, or if you think those are all wrong. Okay, now because of the last couple of days, I haven't, gotten too much done as far as this. I did not get these pieces cut out. I didn't even put another backing on here, so you can still kind of see. These are the ones that I had glued to the wrong side of the, lightweight chipboard, and you could still see that through there, so I needed to cover that again, and I have not yet done that, so obviously I haven't cut the pieces out. So that is still in process to do. And I had changed the thread out on my sewing machine before I thought, and haven't changed it back yet. So the pieces that I showed you, well, probably won't be able to find one right now, right here, that I didn't stitch and that I need to go back and do, I have not done that yet either, but I do know that it needs to be done. I have it written down over here what I still needed to do with this. So I did go through and reorganize my pages and the ephemera pieces that we're going to put in there to kind of give it an even balance, and I think I'm happy with that right now. I'm going to go through it again for about the umpteenth time to make sure that I don't have like too many envelopes back to back, or too many journaling cards back to back. So that is still on the horizon to do. So we will get back to that on Monday, just because of the stress of the past couple of days. I'm going to take the rest of today off, and tomorrow I just need the time to complete some things and to kind of get back on track again. And again, at the end of the video, I'll kind of tell you what's going on. All right, moving on to this one. I did get my pages sewn, and I think they look good. Yesterday on camera, I ended up trimming these up a little bit where I didn't get them, exactly right, and so they look nice now. I ended up trimming off the threads while I was on camera trying to film, and I saved these because, again, I'll use these probably under some of my ephemera pieces. So I did get those done. I think they look great. I'm really, really happy with the way they turned out. In hindsight, I wish that I had made these pieces thicker than a ½ an inch. Maybe have gone to an inch where I had a ½ inch on each side, so I had a bigger border, because when I go to punch the holes, I will struggle to get them in some of these, and I may end up having to put a little 3-in-1 or Fabri-Tac on the stitches that end up getting cut because of the hole punching. But I want it to be more shabby than the more formal one. This is going to be, the more masculine journal, so I don't want it to have a bunch of laces and frills and all that. I want to keep it more on the vintage grungy side. Okay, so I did that. I sewed around these cards that I had backed, and these can either be pockets or journaling cards. Now, I will say that these pieces are pretty big, and in hindsight, I would have printed these pieces out maybe in half size or you know, 3/4 size, because trying to fit them on the page like this will interfere probably with, well, it definitely will, with the holes that I punch here. You know, and because I've already sewn these, I can't go back and trim these sides off, or I'm going to cut my stitching, and that's going to kind of present a problem all the time. I mean, I could, I guess, on this side, you know, cut it down and then just re-sew that, and that would work just fine. So I may end up doing that with a few, so we'll see. But I did want to show you that I got these done. I think they look beautiful. I'm thrilled with the color choice of the thread. It's just kind of a off-white, kind of a cream color. You know, I think it goes well with the coffee dyed paper. I think it goes well with this paper, so I'm pleased with that. I sewed around these journaling cards, you know, with the rounded edges. I think they turned out really nice. Of course, turning corners is not, you know, my specialty, but that's okay. I think they look just fine. And I did trim off the, you know, excess threads on those, and I think they look great. So I'm real happy with these as well. On the smaller pieces, I didn't sew around them, and I haven't punched any holes in them yet. And I'm sure on these larger ones, I'm going to make tags out of these. You know, I may make some corner tucks or top tucks, you know, maybe to put like journaling papers under. You know, I may put them like in a corner here, you know, to put things in there. So I don't want to punch holes in these just yet until I figure out, you know, how I'm going to use those. These smaller little ticket size, I thought I had more than that. I will probably make a little tiny pocket somewhere for them, or I'm going to punch a hole and use them for little danglies, you know, off of, you know, maybe the edge of the journal or something. Again, I don't want to make this frilly or anything. I want to keep it, you know, more on the vintage, grungy looking style. So that's kind of where I am with this. Now, I also had these pages. I'm sure you remember them from, these were the one, oh, here's the other one. These were the ones that I said, because they had the journaling lines on them, that I would glue onto pages like this. So I went ahead and sewed around them, and that makes nice journaling pages. If I decide that I want to make writing papers out of these, then I'll go back and back them with a piece of coffee dyed paper. But for right now, my plan is to use them like this. I could, you know, fold them up and, you know, potentially, you know, make some pockets or something out of them. You know, we'll just have to decide as we go along. So I did sew around the edges of all of these. Now, having said that, I ended up having some bobbin tension issues. Well, that's hard to say. At some point, because my bobbin was running out of thread and I didn't realize it. And so I had some issues with that. And then when I restarted it, I had some bobbin issues as well. So this is how this page turned out, and it looks just horrible. Look at that. Isn't that a mess? So I will either back this, you know, with some coffee dyed paper, or it will be glued down, and then, you know, that's not bad, and that's not bad. I mean, it gets a little bit kind of wonky right there, which I could, you know, put a little, you know, fabric glue on that, and, you know, make those pieces okay. Then I can, you know, put like a pocket or something on the other places, you know, to cover them up. Now, these will work this way on the pages for pockets, or, you know, we can put them like this and have it there. So, you know, these are not like out of the question to use on this. We will be using these. So the decision is going to be, you know, how we're going to use them. So, but anyway, thank God, you know, I have more paper, I have more glue, and, you know, we have things we can use to edge around them, and if all else fails, I know where the trash can is. So, you know, we will use it. I won't throw it away. I mean, there's something we can do with it. All right. These are the pages that I told you that we were going to use to fold up to make, you know, writing papers, to make, you know, maybe some pockets that we fold, you know, just some different things that we can do with these. So I do have the pieces lined up that we're going to make with these. And so we will do those on Monday or Tuesday, you know, however the time allows. So I'm really excited about getting this all together. I think y'all will be too. I think we're going to be so happy with how this turns out. So, having said that, that is kind of where I'm at on this. I'm not going to put any glossy accents on these. Again, I don't want to, frou-frou it up. I really want to leave it in the, the vintage feel. If y'all have any suggestions, let me know. I still haven't decided on a cover for either one of them. However, I'm thinking that for this one, I would like to make a leather look cover using paper and, some techniques. It's not one of G. Kerr's techniques. However, because this journal is going to be what it is, I'm thinking a leather look cover would look great on this, and then maybe even make some leather look embellishments to go, on the edges, or, make a belly band out of one. Give me your opinions of what kind of cover you think we should make for this. If y'all would like to learn how to do that leathery look technique, leave me a comment. Let me know. If you don't, that's okay. We won't do it. But, it's just another technique to put in your, in your toolbox so that you'll have, so, whenever you want to use it, you'll know how to do it. So give me some ideas. Let me know what kind of cover you think I should use. I thought about, taking some khaki fabric, from an old pair of men's pants or something, and using to make pockets and embellishments with. Or, this has, not these, this has some, like some of these kind of greenish gray tones to it. And, there's like some more dressy pants that men wear that are about that color. You see them wearing them a lot. And I do have some, and I'm thinking, I could take like the back pocket that has, the nice slits in it, maybe with or without a button, either way, and use as a potential pocket or embellishment on one of these pages. Again, please leave me some suggestions and comments down below. I really want y'all to be a part of putting this together and making some decisions on what direction you would like to head with this particular journal. I mean, that it really would mean a lot to me if y'all would do that. Going back to the other journal for a minute. Remember, y'all, I told you that I printed out an extra set of pages for both journals. So I do have these that are not backed on anything. They haven't been sewn. And so I can use these to make pockets and tucks and things with as well. So, we also have these that we can use. Of course, they're not sewn around because we don't know how we're going to use them, just as I haven't sewn around, well, the pieces that aren't backed because, or these actually, that aren't backed because we don't know how we're going to fold them up, and how we want the stitching on there to be. So once we decide how we're going to fold them, then of course I'll sew them off camera so y'all don't have to watch that whole process. Okay, so that's where we are on that. Now, I do want to share with y'all a thing that I found at a thrift store. And when I saw it, I thought it was really cool. It was an old picture. I briefly kind of looked at it. My intentions when I picked it up were to cut it up, use it in journaling. I thought it would, make for a really cute journal. I didn't read the whole story. All I saw was that this man had no hands. He his arms had been amputated, or he had lost them, or I didn't know because I didn't read it. But I knew that he had no hands or arms. But there are these sketches around that he drew, and it said, let me see, let me bring it in. Because y'all are just going to be so impressed by this piece. All right. I don't know how much of this y'all can see. But now this was in a plastic. I didn't take it out while I was there. I just saw this and thought, oh, that's cool. And then I saw this man had no arms. And, I just saw a writing master without hands. Saw that he had drawn these pictures and that this was actually his handwriting. And I'm thinking, a man with no hands drew these pictures and wrote. Well, I assumed that all these were reprints, because, who would part with something of an original work like this? When I got it home, I just kind of threw it aside, didn't pay any attention, and then I pulled it out to get a better look. All of these pieces are his original work that were done on notebook paper in pencil. These are pencil drawings, and they are awesome. I want to kind of bring those closer so you can see maybe the awesomeness of not just the pictures, and unfortunately this is hitting, so I have to kind of show it to you sideways, but also his amazing penmanship. I have both of my hands, and my penmanship has never looked that good, and honestly never will. So I was just inspired by this whole story, and so I wanted to research this man. Well, it was hard to find information on him, and when I finally found what I thought was the right time period for this picture, I thought, okay, well, this might be the right guy. So it took me some time, but I did some further research and found the story of this man. Not just this little piece, but a full-size story. And this man lost his arms when he was 4 years old in a cotton gin. His right arm, this story tells that his right arm was amputated about 2 inches below the elbow, and yet he makes a success as a writing master. And then this arm he lost above the elbow. Well, in doing further research, this man was a professor. He was a county auditor. Can you imagine writing that much with no hands? But he was a county auditor. He even ran for political office and won more than once. I think it was several times. And I think in the end, he finally lost an election. But his dates, and I didn't bring what I'd written down, but his dates, I think, were 1866 or 7 to 1937. So these are 100 years old or more. And researching him, I found out that he did get married, and he had a daughter. She died in the 1980s and had no children. Well, I kept looking for family members because I thought surely there's a family member who would love to have this. Well, I found out he had 2 sisters, and both sisters got married. One sister had 1 child that was stillborn. The other sister had 2 sons, one who was killed tragically at work in a workplace accident when he was young, before he had a chance to have children, and the other one, I think, passed with no children. So, the whole thing just seems to be a tragic story, and I have not been able to find any living relatives of this man yet. I'm going to continue to do some research into this. I would like to get this into the hands of the family. I'm sure somebody in that family, I would hope that somebody in this family, if there are any surviving relatives, would love to have this piece. By the condition of it, and of course I couldn't tell the condition until, I pulled it out and actually took it out of this plastic. This has obviously been framed for a very long time. I would think this had not come out of the frame until pretty recently, because it's in perfect shape. Perfect shape. However, somebody cared enough to collect these pictures that he did for someone and glue them on. This is professionally matted. This wasn't something that you just do. These cuts are precise. Everything is precise. So whoever did this either knew what they were doing or had it professionally done, which I'm sure wasn't cheap, just as it's not cheap now. This picture was done by a professional photographer, which you see here, and this is the story that was on the back of this picture. This is his signature down here. So, this is just like unbelievably amazing. If I'm not able to find a surviving relative, I feel pretty sure that the county or state museums would love to add this to their collection. Although I love it and I would love to keep it, I don't want to keep this from his family or from the county or state. I mean, this is absolutely a work of art. I would like to scan these, and have in my personal stash. But the originals, I would love for the family, if there are any that are surviving and that might be interested, would like to have this. And I just want to show y'all what I actually paid for this piece. $1.95. Not $195, $1.95. How amazing is that? I'm just blown away by this whole thing. And regardless what I actually paid for it, to me it is worth more than money could even possibly say. I mean, this man was unbelievable. I'll put this back in the plastic afterwards because I do want to preserve it the best I can. So I did want to share that with you because I think it's just an awesome find. I think the story is incredible. It's inspirational. It shows that even with disabilities, you can overcome stuff. You just have to find a way and you have to try. And this man obviously did that to become a professor, an auditor, a politician, to get married and have a child. I mean, the accomplishments are many. So I'm just so inspired by his story and his artwork and his penmanship. Okay, that's enough on that. So now I'm going to talk just a tiny bit about the last couple of days. And if y'all don't want to hear it now, would be the time to leave. If you're not a godly person, if you aren't a praying person, it might be time for you to leave. But for my prayer warriors out there, this is a story that I need to share. Okay, today's Saturday. On Thursday, I was kind of publicly humiliated. Now, the person that I called a friend, that kind of let me know that I wasn't good enough or my things aren't good enough, hurt me really bad. And I let it get to me. That's the human side of me. And I was trying to redo my kitchen. And as y'all know, I'm disabled and, I struggle. Well, several years ago, when my daughter came home and I thought that she was going to be here long term, and we had a plan that we were going to fix up. I have this little cabin in the back that we were going to fix that up, and that's what I would live in, and I would give her the house. And so I told her to kind of make it her own, to go in the kitchen, set up the kitchen the way that she wanted it. Now, she wasn't a cook, doesn't care to learn to cook, etc. But I thought, if she had her own kitchen set up the way she wanted it, she might be inspired to learn to cook and to appreciate it. Well, I've told y'all before that, I went to culinary school and specialized in, whatever I specialized in. I was a baker. So I did professional or semi-professional baking and sold my products to, people. And did pretty well at it until I just couldn't, because of, my illnesses and different things that happened, I couldn't commit to making wedding cakes and, things for special occasions to make sure that, I had them done on time. I did specializing in making sugar flowers for a while, with my elaborate cakes. I did cookies, cupcake, whatever people wanted, anything that people wanted, basically. And so I have all this equipment. I've got cake pans, pie pans, muffin tins, cookie sheets. I have everything you can imagine to decorate cakes and cookies and pies with. I don't know how many rolling pins I have. I have all the food coloring, you know, the more expensive food coloring. I guess the concentrated, I should say, the concentrated food colorings, you know, that I would use to color my icings and such with. Um, you know, just tons of that. I mean, I've got, you know, like the lollipop sticks, like you make cake pops and things with. I mean, just if you can imagine it, I've got it. You know, I've got the little bags that you put like the cookies in, you know, for people that wanted to buy just, you know, like several cookies, or the big cake boxes with the windows in them, you know, where you could see, you know, whether they're cake boxes or cupcakes. I mean, just all kind of stuff. So she wanted to open kind of a little bakery, and I was going to teach her how to do it. Well, because of my limitations, I can't stand and cook and bake like I used to. So she was going to have to learn by me being with her, but talking her through it, and then showing her little bits, you know, of what I could. So she rearranged the kitchen for that purpose and got all that baking stuff kind of in arm's reach, you know, where she could grab it, you know, pretty quickly. But then things didn't work out and she left. Well, I never put my kitchen back the way it works for me. And I didn't ever want to keep all of this baking stuff. But because she was interested and wanted it, you know, I was allowing her to do what she wanted. Well, now I want all that stuff out of my cabinets and out of my pantry. She had taken the food out of my pantry and put just the whole pantry full of baking stuff. Plus there are baking stuff in, you know, cabinets, and, you know, I mean, they're everywhere. So I pulled all of that stuff out. I've got an island in my kitchen, and I piled stuff up. Well, guess what? I knocked that stuff over, and all over the kitchen it went. That stressed me out on top of the stress of the day. So I was trying to get that cleaned up. You know, I ended up getting some text messages that upset me. You know, and although the people didn't know who she was talking about, I knew who she was talking about, and I knew where it was directed. You know, and that hurts. You know, it really hurts. So that kind of messed with me, and the text messages were messing with me, and I was just, you know, leave me alone. You know, I'm not the person who holds on to things. When something happens, I want to address it, get it behind me, and it's over, forever forgotten. You know, I don't want to bring it up anymore. I don't want anybody else. I mean, it's over, you know. Well, with this particular situation, it's not somebody that I could have that discussion with. And that kind of ate at me because, you know, I couldn't address it and deal with it. And so then, you know, I get this mess all over the kitchen floors, cleaned up, only to turn around as soon as I got it put back up and knocked it over again. Well, the day progressively, just everything that I touched seemed to kind of not go right. And then my kitchen ended up being a bigger mess than when I started, and I just couldn't seem to make it all come together. My dog ran off, and, you know, that was an added stress. So, I mean, the whole day just kept piling up. All right, so at the end of the day, I wrote in my journal, and I do not write about specifics of any situation that involves anybody else or any, like, really hard moments, because, you know, living through it once is bad enough. Who wants to go back and read it and live through it again? Not me. Like I said, once it's over, I want it forgotten. So basically, I try to end each day with a thought or a feeling or a quote for that day, you know, that seems appropriate to that day. And like I said, you know, I just put that it had been a very rough, stressful day. So my final thought, or what I thought was going to be my final thought, I wrote, stress is the confusion created when your mind and heart override your body's basic desire to choke the living crap out of someone who desperately needs it. And that's how I felt. It's just, you know, and I was stressed out because, you know, you want to do it, but you know better than to do it. And, you know, you want to have a heart of forgiveness, you know, and all that. So anyway, I went to close the journal and go to bed. Well, as I went to close it, the Lord spoke to my spirit. And of course I stopped because, you know, when when the Lord quickens you, it's like, okay. And he said, Susie, my grace is sufficient for you. So I reopened it, and at the bottom of the page, I wrote, my grace is sufficient for you. And I looked up the Bible verse, and I wrote it down. And thank God that's how my day ended, was the Lord reminding me that his grace was sufficient for me. Yesterday started out what I thought was going to be, a great day. I was going to, everything from the day before, I'd kind of let it go over that. Let's move on. So I got the sewing of my pages done. I tried to make a video. That didn't work out too well. And so then I got up to do something, and I went to go get something, and I knocked over a whole bin of my my scrap papers, the pages that I had left over from journals that I had made that I had intended to go back and put in another journal. Paper ruffles that I had made, leftover beads and ephemera and, just whatever. All this was in this great big, knocked it all over the floor. It was so bad that my dog couldn't even get across it. Really. He was stressing out because he wanted to be close to me and couldn't. So I'm trying to get it cleaned up, and I knock over another one. Yeah, so needless to say, the day was kind of progressing like everything I touch is not going well, because then I realized that my video hadn't recorded. That was frustrating, and I ended up trying to record it again, only to find out that it wasn't recording. Well, as I tried to adjust, I tried to go back in the kitchen and work on it a little bit. I realized that I was not in the right mindset to be trying to do that. My nerves were just shot. My blood pressure, was up. I just wasn't, when you're just not feeling it. And plus, I've got the normal aches and pains and things that are just part of my life. And it was like nothing that I touched was working out well. So that was enough. I'd had enough for the day, and I decided I was just going to rest and relax, and I wasn't going to watch any more videos. I wasn't going to try to make any journals. I wasn't going to try to do any crafting. I wasn't going to try to work in my kitchen. I was just going to turn on the TV and try to watch TV. Well, I'm not a TV watcher, and it is very difficult for me to keep my hands still. But I thought, I just want to step away from everything, and just kind of a mindless thing. Well, I find that difficult to do. But I did turn on the TV, and, you kind of look through the channels, and there was nothing that really interested me. So I ended up stopping on the crime channel. It's like a true crime channel. And they had the story on there, and I really wasn't paying attention, so I can't tell you, what was really going on. Just, when you're doing something, and you've got kind of like that on for the background noise, and somebody says something that kind of catches your attention, and you kind of look up to see what's going on. Well, that's what I did. And, I was just kind of looking up whenever something was said that kind of caught my attention, and, then go back to doing something. Well, this detective says, I was aware that he said something about getting to this property, and there was a fire, and that they had seen some things in the fire that should not have been there. Obviously, it was a crime show, so you can imagine, inappropriate things being in this fire. So he goes up onto the porch to enter the house, and when he did, there's a human ear sitting on the railing. Well, of course, that made me look up to think, what? So that's weird, right? So anyway, he just said it like, okay. And he said, well, seeing that, you don't know what kind of, whatever you're going to see. And he ends up going in the house, and again, I look away and only look up when I hear something. Well, I look back up, and there's 2 other officers in the house with him. I don't know when they came in or, what, because I wasn't really paying that close of attention. But this detective that I was talking about was, looking through things, and another one opens up the refrigerator, and then he opens up the freezer, and he said, you guys are going to want to see this. So, of course, the other two stopped what they were doing to go over and look in the freezer to find 2 more human ears and testicles in the freezer. Well, that, of course, makes you look up to say, what? And my immediate thought was, had I been either one of those other two, I would have probably grabbed that guy and boxed his little ears or something and said, whatever would have made you think that was something that I wanted to see? No, that is not something I would have wanted to see. So, that was just weird. Why would you say this is something y'all are going to want to see? Nah, who would want to see that? So anyway, that kind of ended that for me. And I'm like, no, that's ridiculous. And of course, later I just turned it off, and I just kind of laughed about it later, thinking, who would say something that stupid? Of course, in a time like that, the guy's stressed out, and he's like, oh my God, so I get why he said it, but, it was just like, and I try to find humor in things, even like in bad situations, and, you don't want to like dwell on that, and particularly after, the 2 days that I had, you don't want to get stuck in a depression, and that's why I ended up turning it off, because it was just depressing to hear that kind of stuff. But, you think back and you kind of try to find humor in it. Well, so then, last night, in for the day, take a shower, I'm going to relax, I'm going to bed, at a decent hour. I'm texting with a friend. My daughter, had called through, where you can see each other on the phone. And we were kind of chatting a little bit. And then, lo and behold, next thing I know, I'm in a conversation with an old friend. And this is where I really want to ask some special prayers. I want to tell you a little bit about our background. Not much, just a little bit. But as a young teenager, early teenager, when I was like in 9th or 10th grade, my father, who was very abusive, had always been abusive, he was just a mean drunk, decided to move us to a one-horse town with very stuffy people, very old money, very old politics. To give you an idea, people in the town, and I think it was a town then, it's a city now, but I think it was still a town then, were trying to stop the progression of paving some of the dirt roads in some of the nicer sections of this town. And I'm talking about big, beautiful, old homes. They didn't want to allow progress in that. They didn't want the traffic. Plus, some of the people there still rode horses. So that kind of tells you the environment that he moved us to. Well, I had an older brother and sister who had already finished school and, were going about their way. And then I had myself and my sister, who was a year older than me, that started going to this new high school where we were not accepted. We were just plain old country girls coming into kind of a high society atmosphere, and we really were not accepted. So that was a very difficult time for us. We had a difficult home life. Then we're, getting bullied and teased at school. It was a tough time. So this boy named Randy, and well, let me back up. I became pretty bitter and pretty angry, and I learned to fight, and I learned to fight well. And I got to the point where I didn't take anything off of anybody, and I didn't put up with people treating me bad, and my solution was to fight. Okay, along comes Randy, and he's this nice, tall, nice-looking guy. And I ended up meeting him in school suspension. I'd gotten in trouble. I guess he'd gotten in trouble. Of course, he didn't get as bad trouble as I did. But anyway, that's where I met him. And this boy saw something in me that nobody else took the time to see. He didn't judge me. He didn't expect me to, be high society and, go to cotillions and, tea parties and the things that the other girls were doing. And he was just a plain old redneck boy, but he saw something in me. Even through my bitterness, even through my anger, he saw something in me and made me believe every single day that he thought I was special. And he would tell me, never forget that you are special. Well, I didn't believe I was special. I just thought, well, he's delusional, but thank God somebody thinks I'm special. And this boy loved me when I was unlovable. Literally, I became a mean, angry person. But Randy didn't see that. He saw past that and saw who I really was. And he loved me. He was the perfect boyfriend throughout high school. He never became inappropriate with me. He didn't expect me to put out like other, boys did with their girlfriends. He was the perfect gentleman. We did things like went fishing. He took me like fishing. We ate at like the Pizza Hut. We didn't eat at the fancy restaurants or go to, fancy dances. We did normal, what we thought was normal things. And he was my best friend, and I loved him very much. And of course, at the time, I didn't understand what a real boyfriend-girlfriend relationship was. So I didn't understand that kind of love. I really didn't understand love at all because of my home life. And so this was my first glimpse into what love was. And I loved this boy, not like in a sexual, physical kind of sense, but he was like the person who balanced me. And we were different in a way that I balanced him. And so it kind of in a weird kind of way, we balanced each other. We kept each other out of trouble. And we made it through. But we ended up losing touch because of my home situation. Just as quick as I turned 18, I left town. I left town. I joined the Army, went away, and that was it. So we lost touch. Well, about a year or so after being in the Army, and I was stationed at San Antonio, Texas at Fort Sam. Well, it turns out he was in the Air Force stationed in Texas, but he was in a different city. He found me and came to see me and would come to see me a little bit, and we ended up deciding we were going to get married. Well, I don't know what happened, but things didn't work out, and we ended up going our separate ways. And then, they transferred me to Hawaii. That's just, what the Army does is they move you around. And I haven't talked to this guy in years. Well, all of a sudden, we're catching up, after 40 years. And, he is proudly telling me about his marriage to his wife for 32 years, who he lost to cancer. About his children, and one of them they lost to cancer. But he was so proud about his life and all that. But he wasn't really telling me about him per se, And so, we talked about, things that I'd gone through and, just life kind of in general. And finally, I asked him, I said, to tell me about him. I said, you're not opening up and telling me about you. And he said, well, I've had a good life. I can't complain. I said, no, don't shut me out. Tell me what's really going on. And so he has lymphatic leukemia, and it has metastasized to his bones. There's no more treatments. There's no more surgeries. Just a death sentence. And so I asked him if he was going to accept that death sentence. And he said, he was prepared. He's ready. So basically the conversation to me was a final goodbye. And I asked him, are you going to accept, this? And he said, yeah, he accepts it and he's ready. And I said, well, there's another option. And I said, God can and will heal you from this. He has miraculously healed me from cancer 3 times. I will not die of cancer. And he said, well, that's great. And he is a Christian man, but he's been shaken. When you get diagnosis like that, when you go through treatments, it shakes you and shakes everything about you. So his faith is not as strong as it once was. And I said, I will not let you die of cancer. I will not. You know, that is not what God said. His word did not say that we were going to die of cancer, and he provided for our healing when Jesus took that beating at the cross. And I'm not going to let you die of cancer. You know, would it be okay if I send you the scriptures that the Lord gave me that I stood on for my healing? And he said, well, yeah. And I said, well, you know, I want you to trust. I mean, become like a baby again that depends on their parent for everything, you know, their food, their clothes, their love, their everything. You know, without that parent, you can't live. Learn to trust him like that, like a baby again. You know, go back to being a child, being God's baby, and let him have full, complete control. And it's not easy, and I'm sure it's particularly harder for men to do that. And I said, you know what? You may not have the faith right now. Your faith may be weak. You may be shaken, but I'm not. And you can be healed on my faith. The Lord will heal you on my faith. You know, I will share a Bible story with you of where these men took this guy on a stretcher to see Jesus. It wasn't the guy on the stretcher's faith that got him healed. These two guys carried this man, crawled up on another man's roof, and cut a hole in it. Well, don't y'all know that that man thought just as much as his roof as we think of our roof? So these two men had the faith that if they could just get this man to Jesus, he would be healed. The man on the stretcher, it wasn't about their faith. It was about the two men who had the faith to get him to Jesus. Well, that's where I want to get, Randy. I want us together to stand in complete faith. Not just to pray and keep begging, but to pray and believe that it is done. To stand in complete agreement with one another that he will be completely healed from the top of his head to the bottom of his feet, from the inside out, that every cell will be regenerated, everything will be completely restored, and that he will go on to live and serve the Lord. I beg y'all to stand in not just prayer, but in belief that he will be healed. And I expect to very soon be able to come back and tell you that he has a good report. You know, the Lord said, test that my word is good. And I know his word is good. He's shown me so many times that his word is good and it's true. And so I'm standing on that, and I ask y'all to stand with me in that. So that is my humble prayer. And if I never, ever ask for a prayer for myself, I ask that you pray and believe for this man. Had God not put him in my life when he did, God only knows what kind of person I would have turned out to be. He intervened at a time that was so critical in my life. And without that stability, you know, without that, even in one another out, I would have probably become angrier and meaner. I may have ended up in prison. You know, I mean, who knows? I was not in a good place when God sent Randy into my life. He was my first love. Y'all know how first loves are. Whether you're male or female, you know how first loves are. You never forget them, and you always remember the impact they had in your life, whether it was good or bad. And I will care about this man, this precious man, until I take my last breath. What the Lord used him for in my life is undescribable. And so I humbly ask that you pray for this man and believe, truly, totally believe, for this man's complete healing in the name of Jesus. With that, I'm going to close out for today. Again, I'm going to take the rest of today off. I need to get this mess cleaned up behind me that I made. I need to kind of de-stress a little bit, take some time for me for self-care, and just kind of regroup a little bit. You know, the past couple of days have been really tough. And obviously, you know, when I got off with Randy last night, I broke down, not out of doubt, but because the 2 days had been so stressful. And then to hear my precious friend accept his death sentence was just about more than I could bear. And my tears are not tears of doubt or unbelief. They are tears for the brokenness that this man feels. I've been there. I know how it feels. I know how desperate it is. I want his whole spirit, mind, and body healed. This was a strong man when he was young, and it took about a year of dating him to find out of the hell that he lived through at home, because he always put me first and didn't tell me what he had been living through. And I've asked him to put his love for God first. And that would change things. And I believe that. So I will praise the Lord from this point on for his healing, spirit, mind, and body. And that he will use Randy for a mighty work. And that he will live a long life, that he will find love and laughter again. And that he just abundantly bless him. Thank you all so very much. I appreciate y'all hanging with me. I appreciate your prayers. I appreciate your love and support. I am fine. You know, I've just had a very rough couple of days. Emotionally, physically. My heart has been hurt. And I'm going to be fine. You know, I mean, it's just, you know how when things just keep on and keep on and keep on, how it kind of piles up. Well, it did. And so now I'm to a point now where self-care time, and that's what I'm going to do. And I know crafting is my happy place, and I will be doing some crafting. I'm not going to go too far in this because I want y'all to be a part of all of that with me. So, but I will be doing things. I definitely want to get, you know, my craft room cleaned up a little bit, you know, my supplies organized again, the things that I dumped over, you know, rather than having them in those big, huge totes. I want to put them where they should go and not have them in open containers where they will spill again like that. So I'm just going to do some things to kind of take care of myself, to kind of get myself, you know, better prepared and in a better mind frame. I love every one of you. Thank you to all of my new subscribers. Thank you to the ones y'all have been hanging out with me. I appreciate it. Please don't forget to like and comment on the video. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider hitting the subscribe button. And for all of those who do subscribe, please hit that notification bell and go to the top one, you know, the one that's, you know, colored in completely, and hit that so that you'll be notified every time I upload a video. I appreciate it so very much. I love you all. I appreciate you all more than you could possibly know. Blessings and hugs to each and every one of you. And I will talk to you on Monday. Bye.